This is a real-time video which will be presented in several parts as I talk through the approach I am taking to urban sketch this window scene. In part 4, I get out the Uniball Vision black ink pen and start doing detail work in the windows and the brick walls.
I'm going to start defining these areas a little bit more. And that does not mean necessarily drawing a straight line down here on the edge of the wall. I am going to do it on the water pipe though. And straight line means sort of a straight line. I do not worry if my straight lines are crooked. Now as I'm looking at this water pipe, it actually has two sides to it. So I'm going to draw a skinny side here and a wider side. And the skinnier side, even though I have some lines in there, and it has shadow in here, the wider side is actually darker than the skinnier side as I'm looking at it. And then I'm going to define the sidewalk a little bit more here. That water pipe comes down like that. And it actually has a little area like this. And then my brick sidewalk starts to go up, not at a big slant. It just sort of slants up this way. And then there's a gray cement area that comes this way. And this brick wall, I'm going to define it here, sort of. Just let my pen kind of glide down the page there. And this is all, there's this, well actually this gray area should be here and there's white. So, but I think I'm going to put another white area there, which goes clear out to, actually that gray area ends here. I kind of got off on my perspective here. My wall ends here. So these lines here are not true lines. Let's see if I can blot those out a little. That's ink. Here again, don't worry about your mistakes. That happens. Sometimes you can work it in. Like I can work that into my brick. I'm just kind of rubbing out those two lines there that I really don't want them as part of this wall. It's a part of this wall. So let's define that wall a little bit more that way. Now there's white. There's actually a really wide white wall here. So let's do this. And that's okay if I made this part of my window, because this wide white wall, part of it falls into shadow. So we'll just use that as shadow of the wall. And this window falls underneath of the canopy. So I'm just drawing a line there. Don't bring this line down as far as you brought these, because your window's going to slant up. And that's what I'm going to do now. And there's actually a couple lines here because these are windows and there are little dark lines in there. Now your canopy falls here. I'm actually going to sketch a line from my canopy. If you were doing a painting, you may not draw a line because there's no physical line there. If you were doing an actual painting, you would let this canopy, the red of this canopy, define that area without defining it with a line. But I sketch it in because this is a sketch, and I don't mind sketching with a sketch. Defining that line with a line. And then there's a line that goes up this way and a little line here. And there's actually another black area on this canopy up at the top. So we'll come in with some gray there. Now here, this is what I'm talking about when you paint. See how the darkness of this vertical area is defined, the light of the diagonal area and the darkness of the vertical area actually define this part of the canopy. Whereas I have the bottom of the canopy is defined by my black line that I drew there. That is not really a true black line. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but that is really something that I learned in a drawing class. That's nothing that I discovered or anything like that. That's something that was taught to me. And this is what I talk about when I mean intuitive painting. Intuitive to me does not mean, oh, I never had a lesson and I do this all on my own. This is just how I see it. It means drawing out from all my experiences, all of the last pages, lessons such as this versus a line there. And you don't really, I'm consciously talking about it now, but you don't really, you subconsciously think about it while you're sketching or while you're drawing, or at least I do. But I don't really honestly stop to say, okay, you know, it's got to be this way. I just do it. And I think I draw those experiences out from my prior experiences. And I think that's why it's so hard sometimes to teach people. You know, go do your sketches, do your studies, and the more you do, the more, that's why you get better as you sketch and as you practice, because you're drawing on all of those prior experiences. And that's why I always say don't quit, flip to the next page. That is why I have let's flip to the next page at the end of all my videos. Don't stop. Keep practicing. Keep going. Keep learning. And the more you do, let's see, she's got a sweater coming down here. The more you do, the more you'll learn, and the better you'll get, and the happier you'll be with your own work. Now I'm actually drawing these mannequins in a little bit better. And you kind of see her foot here. And she's got her, actually her dress kind of comes like that. You kind of see her legs coming down this way. All right. And then there's a very definite window line here. And see how I have this up higher? That actually should be more in line here. But that's okay, I'll just use that as part of the window sill there. And then there's nothing in this window, it's just, well, actually in real life she comes out there, but I moved her over a little, so she's kind of hiding behind. Part of her is hiding behind that window. And then this line falls in here like that. And this comes up here, maybe in there. Okay. So you think it's starting to take shape here? Do you see the perspective? Going off over this way and going up that way and coming this way. Let's work on this a little bit more. Now I haven't even talked about putting reflections in the window. I'm dwelling more on perspective on this page. I may put some reflection in later. I don't know. this will come more this way. And this window actually falls underneath. So while this is sort of a lesson on perspective, I don't mean this as I'm meaning, what do I think about when I'm out sketching? It's more of a Meri do. Put the window there. Now, this window, sometimes it's hard for me to work off of the very edge of my pages. I don't know what you're going to see here. This window kind of comes like this. And so I need the top here to do the same. So I put in very light lines there. Yeah, I'm happy with that. And then there's a definition of a pane here. And then I'm going to try to put in my lady here. She has a foot coming down this way and one foot kind of going, knee coming out that way. And she's got a jacket on. And of course this window wall kind of hides her. And she's headless. I'm happy with that. And then this is just a square poster in the window. All right. Oh, let's work on this area. Now see how that my pen actually curved? That wall does not curve there. That's okay though. We'll just leave it that way. Those things usually kind of get worked into your page as you work. And this is a sketch. This is not meant to be perfect. There we go. Actually, this line should be a little bit more at an angle, but we'll leave it that way. And let's do this top area here. Kind of. Okay. Now, I'm going to use my pen to define the brick area right in here, because this is the definite dividing point right here. These can kind of fade into the background, but in order for me to show the perspective, I want these bricks to be a very definite direction. So I'm just going to kind of do some dashed lines coming down to make a very definite dividing point on my page. Like that. And these bricks will be going off this way, and these bricks will be going off that way. And I'm not going to try to define every brick. I'm just going to put in suggestion lines. And I struggle with this sometimes too. If you take one area and put in more shapes and then let these fade off, you get what you get it. And you're just doing suggestions of bricks. You're not actually drawing every brick in perspective. You're just suggesting a brick wall. Actually, I think this is more of a brick veneer. And you try to make it look like bricks too by alternating the shapes. Sometimes I struggle with that too. Now I have sort of just a very, very slight slant on that. I would say maybe 5 degrees. And you don't have to worry too much about them. Now this wall is part of this wall, and this wall is darker than this wall because of the, not in real life, but because of the way the light hits it. This is more in shadow than this. The light hits this side of the building. I want this out a little bit more. And don't be afraid of scratchy areas like this. After all, this is a sketch. This is not a masterpiece. And it's not meant to be. It's meant to be, I'm going out, I'm having fun. Okay, now you might want to kind of put in some light lines here, just little suggestion lines of brick, because to tell you that this is still part of the brick wall here, but you don't want them as defined as this, or I don't want them as defined as that. I'm just kind of putting in some some lines to suggest a brick wall. And you may do this completely differently. And if it looks different to you, I would suggest that yes, you do it differently. And this is all kind of white window area boards. The window, I call it the window sill, but it's the window framing area in here. And there's actually a shape of the window here. Not the window, but the boards have a shaped area in there. And this actually comes more like that. But see how that actually defines this brick's going that way? Now these bricks come this way, and since it's lighter, I'm going to put in some, I'm going to turn my book, and I'm just going to put in some very light. And it's kind of hard to, I'm just going to put in some very light lines. And I want them to kind of slant up, not at a big angle, but at a slant angle. And I'm not being as detailed here. I'm just putting in some light lines in there, and I'll follow up here. Just saying, I think there are bricks here. And don't worry too much about them. You're just suggesting. But I'm not putting my ink is still the same tone. My ink is not really, I'll go back and you'll see where I can shade with this ink, but when I put more pressure on my pen, I get more of a definition than when I'm doing these. I'm not putting a lot of pressure on my ink pen, and that's what makes my lines a little bit lighter. I'm just barely putting in the tones of those bricks. And I don't care if my bricks don't match up. In real life, this brick would probably match up with this. But again, if I wanted this to be a photograph, I'd get out my camera. And I think that is a part of what makes art so unique. And I'm going to use the word charming, C-H-A-R-M-I-N-D. I think there's a I-N-G. C-H-A-R-M-I-N-G, charm. I think that when you do sketches like this, there is a certain charm to an imperfect watercolor or an imperfect painting that is more expressive than something that is done so realistically that it looks like a photograph. There's certainly a talent to doing a photorealistic drawing. That is, people who do that are extremely talented. But don't let that stop you from doing your own interpretation, because that is like I said, there is a charm that cannot be captured with the camera when you do something like this. I want to say it's more attractive, but I wouldn't say it's more attractive. It's got its own song to it. How's that?